Hello and welcome to Crash CSS. On behalf of the entire Crash CSS team, I'm your instructor, Alicia Khan, and today we begin our journey into the fascinating world of psychology. Before we dive into schools of thought, methods, or applied fields, we must first understand what psychology truly is. Psychology is most commonly defined as the scientific study of behavior and mental processes. This means psychologists examine everything humans do, our actions, habits, reactions, and everything that happens internally, such as thoughts, feelings, motivations, and perceptions. The American Psychological Association simply describes psychology as the scientific study of the mind and behavior. The very word psychology comes from Greek, psyche, meaning soul or mind, and logos, meaning study. Early scholars called it the science of the soul. But as science advanced, the field moved away from abstract metaphysical concepts and toward observable behavior, measurable mental activity, and systematic scientific methods. Modern psychology focuses on what can be studied, tested, and verified. Psychology also explores how biological, cognitive, emotional, and environmental factors shape who we are. Whether we examine how memory works, why people behave differently in groups, how stress affects the body, or how learning takes place, psychology gives us tools to understand human experience from multiple angles. This lesson lays the foundation for the entire subject. As we move forward, you will see how psychology evolved into a rigorous scientific discipline and how its various branches connect to real-world applications in health, education, leadership, crime, and everyday life. The scope of psychology is incredibly vast, stretching across both basic, research-oriented, and applied, practice-oriented areas. Because psychology studies human behavior and mental processes, it naturally extends into almost every aspect of life. In its basic fields, psychology explores essential questions about human development, cognition, emotion, and interaction. For example, developmental psychology studies how people grow physically, socially, and mentally across their lifespan. Social psychology investigates how individuals influence and are influenced by groups. Cognitive psychology focuses on perception, memory, thinking, and decision-making, while biological psychology explores how the brain, hormones, and genetics shape behavior. Abnormal psychology studies mental disorders, their symptoms, causes, and treatments. On the applied side, psychology directly helps individuals, organizations, and communities. Clinical psychology diagnoses and treats mental illnesses. Counseling psychology assists people with personal and career challenges. Educational psychology examines how students learn and how teachers can improve instruction. Industrial/organizational psychology enhances workplace productivity and worker satisfaction. Psychology also includes expanding fields like forensic psychology, which deals with crime, law, and criminal behavior. Health psychology, which connects physical health with emotions and lifestyle. Environmental psychology, which studies how surroundings affect mood and behavior. Sports psychology, which improves athletic performance. And positive psychology, which focuses on strengths, happiness, and human flourishing. This diversity shows that psychology is not limited to laboratories or therapy rooms. It influences schools, hospitals, courts, offices, sports fields, and even digital environments. The field continues to grow as new problems emerge and new scientific tools develop, making psychology one of the most dynamic disciplines of modern times. Psychology is recognized as a science because it follows systematic and empirical methods to study human behavior. Like other scientific fields, psychology relies on observation, experimentation, measurement, analysis, and verification to form reliable conclusions. Psychologists begin by forming hypotheses, testable predictions, and then gather data through controlled experiments, surveys, interviews, or naturalistic observations. For example, a cognitive psychologist may test memory by presenting participants with word lists under controlled conditions. A behavioral scientist might examine how positive reinforcement shapes actions in both humans and animals. A developmental psychologist may observe how children solve problems differently at various ages. Across all these methods, the goal remains the same: gather objective, verifiable, and replicable data. Psychology also uses statistical tools to analyze results and avoid personal bias. This commitment to objectivity separates modern psychology from early philosophical speculation. Researchers strive to remove subjectivity by using standardized procedures, random sampling, and double-blind methods when necessary. Additionally, psychology has laboratories, peer-reviewed journals, ethical standards, and specialized research areas, hallmarks of any scientific discipline. Whether studying brain structures through neuroimaging or exploring social behavior using field studies, psychologists use methods that mirror those of physical and biological sciences. By grounding its theories in evidence, psychology builds a cumulative scientific knowledge base. Each study adds a piece to the puzzle of human behavior, helping the field progress toward deeper understanding. This scientific approach ensures that psychological findings are not based on guesswork but on rigorous testing, making psychology a reliable and respected science. Two foundational schools shaped early psychology: structuralism and functionalism. Structuralism, led by Wilhelm Wundt and Edward Titchener, was the first major approach. Structuralists aimed to break consciousness down into its simplest elements, much like chemists break compounds into atoms. Their primary method was introspection, where trained observers reported their sensations, feelings, and images when presented with a stimulus. For example, participants might describe the qualities of a visual pattern or sound in fine detail. The goal was to map the structure of the mind, the building blocks of consciousness. However, structuralism faced criticism for relying too heavily on subjective reports. As a response, functionalism emerged in the United States under William James, often called the father of American psychology. Functionalists were less interested in the components of consciousness and more concerned with its purpose, why mental processes exist, and how they help individuals adapt to their environments. Influenced by Darwin's evolutionary theory, functionalists asked how memory, emotion, perception, or problem solving support survival. While structuralists emphasized mental elements, functionalists emphasized mental operations. Their work broadened psychology's scope, encouraging research into learning, development, education, and individual differences. Another school, Gestalt psychology, also emerged, arguing that the mind organizes experiences into unified wholes. Gestalt theorists believed the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, emphasizing holistic perception. Together, structuralism and functionalism laid the groundwork for modern experimental psychology. They established psychology as an independent scientific discipline and sparked debates that shaped future research directions. In the early 20th century, psychology shifted dramatically through two influential schools: behaviorism and psychoanalysis. Behaviorism, championed by John B. Watson and later B.F. Skinner, argued that psychology should study only observable behavior, not thoughts or emotions, which cannot be directly measured. Behaviorists emphasize the role of the environment in shaping behavior through conditioning, reinforcement, and learning. Watson famously demonstrated classical conditioning in humans through the Little Albert experiment, where a baby was conditioned to fear a white rat by pairing it with a loud noise. Skinner later developed theories of operant conditioning, showing how rewards and punishments shape behavior. Behaviorism's strict focus on observable actions helped psychology establish itself as an objective science. On the other hand, psychoanalysis, founded by Sigmund Freud, focused on the unconscious mind as the primary driver of behavior. Freud proposed that hidden conflicts, childhood experiences, and instinctual drives shape thoughts and actions. He introduced concepts like the id, ego, and superego, along with defense mechanisms that protect individuals from anxiety. Psychoanalytic therapy aimed to uncover repressed memories and unresolved conflicts through free association, dream analysis, and talk therapy. Though controversial, Freud's ideas profoundly influenced personality theory, therapy, literature, and culture. Behaviorism and psychoanalysis represented two extremes, one focusing solely on observable behavior, the other on hidden mental dynamics. Both schools shaped modern psychology, inspiring new theories and methods that integrated aspects of each approach. By the mid-20th century, psychologists sought an alternative to the determinism of behaviorism and the pessimism of psychoanalysis. This led to the rise of humanistic psychology, often called the third force. Pioneers like Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers emphasized human potential, self-awareness, and personal growth. Humanism viewed people as inherently good, capable of making choices, and motivated towards self-actualization. the desire to fulfill one's highest potential. Maslow developed the hierarchy of needs, showing that individuals must satisfy basic physiological and safety needs before moving toward love, esteem, and ultimately self actualization. Carl Rogers introduced client centered therapy, which emphasized empathy, unconditional positive regard, and the therapist's genuine acceptance. Humanistic psychology brought a more optimistic view of human nature and inspired modern counseling practices. Additionally, Gestalt theories, existential psychology, and other holistic perspectives expanded the understanding of human experience. These approaches emphasized consciousness, meaning making, and the human search for purpose. Modern psychology today integrates elements from multiple schools: behavioral techniques, cognitive theories, humanistic insights, and psychodynamic understanding, creating an eclectic and flexible discipline. Humanism played a crucial role in shifting psychology towards studying positive traits, well being, creativity, and motivation. This scene reflects how psychology broadened to include not just pathology and learning, but also growth, purpose, and personal fulfillment. Modern psychology uses various perspectives to interpret behavior. The biological perspective examines how brain structures, neurotransmitters, hormones, and genetics shape behavior. For example, imbalances in dopamine may influence motivation or mood. The biological perspective also studies heredity, neural functioning, and evolutionary adaptations. The behavioral perspective, derived from behaviorism, focuses on how the environment shapes actions through learning. It examines classical conditioning, operant conditioning, habits, and reinforcement. This perspective helps explain how behaviors form, change, or persist. The psychodynamic perspective, rooted in Freud's work, explores unconscious motivations, early childhood experiences, and emotional conflicts. It suggests that behavior is often influenced by hidden feelings, unresolved issues, and internal struggles between the ID, ego, and superego. Each perspective provides a unique lens. For example, if someone experiences anxiety, a biological psychologist may explore neurotransmitter imbalance. A behavioral psychologist may examine learned fear responses, and a psychodynamic psychologist may investigate unresolved childhood trauma. These perspectives do not contradict each other. They complement one another, offering a multidimensional understanding of human behavior. The cognitive perspective studies mental processes such as thinking, memory, perception, language, and problem solving. Cognitive psychologists examine how people interpret information, make decisions, and store memories. The humanistic perspective, as previously discussed, focuses on free will, personal growth, self actualization, and human potential. It emphasizes subjective experience and the idea that people strive for meaning and fulfillment. The sociocultural perspective explores how culture, social norms, traditions, and group membership influence behavior. Different societies have different parenting styles, emotional expressions, and social expectations, all of which shape individual behavior. The evolutionary perspective applies Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection to psychological traits. It suggests that behaviors and mental processes developed because they helped our ancestors survive. For example, fear of snakes or preference for social bonding may have evolutionary roots. Together, these four perspectives, cognitive, humanistic, sociocultural, and evolutionary, help psychologists analyze behavior from internal, external, cultural, and historical angles. Psychology continues to evolve with new scientific and technological advancements. One major trend is positive psychology, which studies happiness, optimism, gratitude, resilience, and character strengths. Rather than focusing only on disorders, positive psychology explores how people can live meaningful and fulfilling lives. Neuropsychology and cognitive neuroscience have expanded rapidly due to advanced brain imaging tools like fMRI, PET scans, and EEG. These technologies allow scientists to observe brain activity in real time, linking thought processes with neural mechanisms. Another trend is the growing interest in cross-cultural psychology, which examines how culture shapes thought, emotion, behavior, and mental health. Researchers increasingly recognize that psychological principles are not universal and must consider cultural diversity. Technology also plays a major role. AI-based mental health assessments, Virtual therapy platforms and digital interventions are becoming common. Chatbots and apps help identify emotional patterns or offer cognitive behavioral support. Speech and writing analysis tools assist in diagnosing mood disorders. These trends show that modern psychology is becoming more global, technological, interdisciplinary, and future oriented. We wrap up our comprehensive overview of the nature and scope of psychology. Throughout this lesson, we explored psychology's formal definition as the scientific study of behavior and mental processes, its Greek origins, and its transformation from early philosophical speculation into a rigorous scientific discipline. We examined the broad scope of psychology, including both basic branches such as cognitive, biological, social, and developmental psychology, and applied fields such as clinical counseling, forensic, educational, and industrial/organizational psychology. We then studied psychology's scientific foundation, its reliance on empirical evidence, experimentation, observation, and verifiable results. This scientific grounding makes psychology a reliable field that contributes to health, education, decision making, leadership, and societal well being. Next, we explored the major historical schools of thought: structuralism, functionalism, Gestalt, behaviorism, psychoanalysis, and humanism, and saw how they shaped modern knowledge. We also discussed the 7 dominant psychological perspectives used today, including biological, behavioral, cognitive, psychodynamic, humanistic, sociocultural, and evolutionary. Finally, we examined recent trends, including neuropsychology, cross-cultural research, AI applications, and positive psychology. Together, these components provide a strong foundation for deeper study. Psychology is rich, diverse, and continually evolving. As you progress in your CSS preparation, this understanding will help you write clearer analyses, better outlines, and stronger critical evaluations. Thank you for staying with us through this comprehensive lesson on Introduction to Psychology. We truly hope this lesson added clarity, confidence, and structure to your understanding of the subject. If you found this session valuable, do subscribe to the Crash CSS channel, press the bell icon to stay updated with every new lecture, and share this video with fellow aspirants who can benefit from it. Your support motivates us to keep producing structured, high-quality, exam-focused content for you. In the next video, we will dive deeper into the core building blocks of psychology with more clarity and scoring focus. Until then, stay consistent, stay motivated, and we will see you in the next class.